what this is about. It's about, mental, physical, financial, and spiritual health. That's all this is about, and bringing community together, creating community. I'm in one part of the country, you might be in another part of the country, but we're a community. How do we get together? And that's what the chat, the chats down below is all about. So anyway, thank you for joining, and this is Kyle Ramon, just a good dude, that he got into some legal problem, which we do, and this is his story. So I enjoy.
Well, I started joined the military in 2009. Came out of college and wasn't doing very great academically at that point, so I decided to follow like the path of like the rest of my family. Every male in my family has been in the military, so like my dad, I wanted to go to the Marine Corps. My dad's friend was the recruiter at the town nearest me, and they wouldn't let me go to the Marine Corps. My dad said, absolutely not. He goes, if you want to go anywhere, you need to go to the Air Force. And I said, you should be in the Air Force. You should have been the airman. I'm a Marine. And he said you could be a Marine, but he goes, I want you to do something you can have transfer on the outside when you get out. So we settled with. I wanted to be a badass, so we settled with TAC P. And I went to the Air Force recruiter and passed the pass test, and then went into the military to become a TAC P. And at that point, shipped off to basic training, and then went to tech school and got to go through TAC P and see what being a special force is all about. After a couple injuries, I got to get reclassed into a new job. While we're waiting for that, I found out that I was in an AFI flight, waiting for their instruction flight, and we were at the marina, at the boat marina in Florida, at Hurlburt Field, Special Operations Command for Air Force. And we were all standing around, nobody was doing anything, so I just saw some buckets and a hose, so I started cleaning the boat. So the guy who was in charge came and looked at like everybody standing there and was like, who cleaned this boat? And I'm like, I did. He goes, good, you get to drive boats tomorrow. These guys can go do all the other stuff since they didn't want to work today. And that guy took me out to Eglin Air Force Base, and he wanted to build a skeet range there for, I guess, just for fun, for sport. And me and him talking, had heard I had some construction experience, so I laid some block. I helped build the Eglin Air Force Base skeet range. And him and a commander, retired F-16 pilot, told me that I can't get you into like aerial gunner, but he's like, I can vouch for you on structural engineering. And I was like, absolutely, let's go. So I got reclassed and got to go to Gulfport. And at that point, that's when I became a structural engineer. And then my first duty station after that was Malmstrom, okay, in Montana.
Sorry. What was military? What was military life like for you?
So I was a single airman, so dorm life. It was pretty hectic, to be honest. And I found that if you came to that base and that shop and you were single, you didn't have the luxury of having my wife's friends with the boss's wife. So we, as the single airman, we got it a little bit harder. And yeah, we had just gotten told that there's no girls allowed in the dorms because there was a couple issues prior to me getting there. So it was kind of rough. It felt like I was in high school again. But
so what's amazing about the military is that as an 18, 19, 20, whatever, 20-year-old person, you get to see phenomenal stuff day in, day out that you would miss out on if you didn't join. What are some of your fond memories of doing? What are some of your fond memories?
The guys were great. Like who I served with, really, it was just a blast. We got a lot of cool training. I mean, from everything from, like advanced driving out by the perimeter road and doing all the trainings we got to go to. We got to go down to Tyndall. I think a lot about TAC P, because that was some of the fun stuff where you got to do more combat of the job, versus the day in, day out, like, the needed work, basically. So I didn't join the military to become like a construction worker in the military. So that was really one of the underlying issues that started, I think, my downfall. Was I had I had like an insecurity from it. Like my identity had been ripped from me. Like what I had planned, what I'd worked for. I mean, my injury was something that had um, I could work past, but not in the eyes of the medical. So getting taken out of that was really the start of my whole problem.
Where does the mind go? What happens? I mean, what's your disconnect? I mean, what happens when something like that's taken away from you, and you feel like that you don't have anything?
It's like getting robbed of your manhood in a sense because like so say if I was never like an academically like disciplined student, and my dad can attest to that. But I was a hard worker, outworked everybody. Went from being a pretty big guy to a pretty fit guy, and I mean I was. This was before CrossFit was like the main thing. At least until I got in the military, CrossFit wasn't a word you really heard. But I uh, I had my bike ride my bike out 26 miles. I'd spend 8 hours at the gym, and I'd go swim 5 miles. I would run 4 more miles, and I'd wake up and do it again. And I did P90X 3 times in a row before I went in, and I blew the pass test out the water. So when you have that kind of ambition, you want to do something like that. Like I remember watching Generation Kill every night before I went to bed for straight 6 months. My dad said that was the most realistic. He was a Marine, and he was in Desert Storm, and first boots on the ground too. So he said that's the most realistic to military life, and I always wondered like why all the men in my family were the way they were, and you don't know this until you go in, and then you have that experience, and it really is. It's like the camaraderie from the men and women that you serve with, to the embracing the suck factor. Like my dad always said, you don't know what it's like to get screwed until you've been screwed by Uncle Sam, and that you can really, you know, that I don't know, that rings pretty true for me. Like having that much responsibility, that much weight on your head, and then you put this extra on you yourself, try to hold yourself to this perfect standard, and it's just a lot to deal with. And I think it leads to a lot of underlying mental issues that a lot of guys have, whether or not they've seen combat or they, did a combat job versus a regular day-to-day job.
Talk about talk about the pride that you have. Because like so now all of a sudden you have a responsibility. What are you like 19 years old, and now you're responsible for some things?
Yep.
What was your responsibility?
My responsibility at first was I was in the carpenter shop. That was my first assignment, and doing that, we all kind of noticed that we were on a race to get airmen below the zone. So I had my biggest thing was I wanted to leave a good impression with my name. So I immediately grabbed the person who just won airmen below the zone. His name was Airman Reyes. Really shit hot guy. Learned like 2 languages in the 6 months I had got to like be under him. So I immediately started going to school. I immediately started coaching a softball team. Got voted the all-star coach. Took that team to the state championship. I was just trying to make a name for myself here in the community, playing sports and going to school, coaching sports, and then making sure I handled all the jobs with integrity and with to the best of my ability. And something with doing construction here now, it was much different than like how you do it in the civilian world, where you can mess up like in the military because we have enough material and things you can redo it. So I guess I had to kind of get past that little obstacle in my own head that like if you gave me something I've never done before, I didn't want to try before the military. I wanted to try something that wasn't easy. It didn't come easy. Working hard and getting physically fit was easy. You just keep going until it sucked, and then you keep going. But when you do something that maybe doesn't come as easy to you with like, reading these directions and then building something that you have to build, that's your assignment today. And I don't know, even as much as putting like hanging a TV on the wall and just being willing to like, hey, you got to do this, try. And that, I don't know, that was my first like lesson that the military taught me, besides time management, was you have to try. If it's uncomfortable or not, you have to keep trying. And once I got past that little wall, like I'm like willing to try, everything started just coming together. So
What is okay? So some of the training that so you're talking about the advanced driving. What's advanced driving?
It's a training day, like every 90 days or so, we'd have like an exercise where we do some type of unit training and get together and just stay combat ready. The advanced driving was like taking Humvees and going through, trying to roll them, really. And then they had this unique like handle where you pull it, and then the back wheels were like train track wheels that turned sideways, and you'd have to try to spin out. And you tried to do this on like uneven ground, and it's just basically preparing yourself in case you were driving in combat or find yourself in a situation where it's not comfortable. So
Were you driving or were you?
I was always driving.
You're
I'm
always
always the driver. And when I'm not the driver, things go bad usually.
what was your favorite part?
I think it was calling my dad at the end of the day to go over what I just did that day. Like Sergeant Taylor from Black Rifle Coffee Company was an instructor there at the time, and he was so charismatic you knew he was gonna be famous. Like and he did it. Like Hawk 80 was the class that I started with, but yeah, I just didn't get through on that one. But yeah, watching those guys come back and when hearing all the stories, like when you go to feel FTX and all that stuff, and then you like when as you live the parts that like you were worried about, it's just crazy like how hard it was. Like I mean, every day was the point of muscle failure. 15 times before 6 in the morning, you already had done more than most humans had done in 2 days or a week. So I guess the pride, like being able to, you know, it's hard to impress somebody that's been in the military, that's been around the world and see something. So I was always trying to live up to my dad's, who he doesn't really hold that kind of an expectation. His is work hard, be honest, and be a productive member of society. Basically, is all he requires. So it's very easy. But I had put a lot on myself to live up to this, you know, this persona that he had like been, his persona that he had basically put out. So.
How supportive were were your buddies, your battle buddy, your buddies, and how supportive were you to them?
Oh, I mean that's brothers forever. I've since the military, I've gone and lived with two of them and worked with them, and I mean that's brother. That's something that you can't take away is that connection that you have when everything sucks so much. There's like two types of people. Like you get called in on a Sunday because somebody that you never met got busted drinking and driving, and you're in a base wide all call and six reading standby. There's always one person complaining about how they had plans that day. And everybody's like, "Hey, did you hear that? Robbie had plans." Like none of us did, but that those guys that embrace the suck with you, it's just something that you have a bond with forever. So you appreciate and respect somebody else's ability to embrace the suck. You know.
Yeah. So how was your transition into civilian life?
Whew. So I had come off some. I was having a lot of. I was unaware of all the mental issues that I had going on and all the things that I was trying to figure out as a young adult that's now taken out of his like little pond, and now I don't know. For me, you don't have a home as much after you leave home the first time. Like wherever you're at's home, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to, set up and be confident and make that place home and be okay. And I was never the best at being by myself. I was raised in a pretty big environment with a ton of family and a lot of support. So it was hurting a little bit for me. I was on my own. I went through a recently fresh divorce. I'd gotten out in a very unique fashion. I was planning on staying in and going pals chase and doing that. And then all of a sudden, I had a situation come up where it was time to get out. And that was sudden. And it was pretty hard on me. And that was another thing that kind of got me. Took a lot to be able to walk in front of people and hold my head up high about that. And I wasn't at the point yet. So I had lost basically what I felt like I had earned with a pretty spotless career. I mean, I had a spotless career until that point. And I had lost that pride at that point.
So not having your friends, your support system around you. I'm gonna take it you're not from Montana.
No, sir.
Okay, so you're in a different state, and as you said, it's very, very small. I mean, the town of Great Falls, to some states it's a decent size. A lot of states it's just another suburb.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Where are you from?
I'm from Streeter, Illinois.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe Chicago is like a 50,000 place is like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the big city of the entire region
Yep.
area. So you're in a, as what I'm getting to is that you're in a very non-populous place. As you said, it's like, there's not a lot of support system, not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that maybe understand you. I mean, is it easier? Okay, so is it easier being in a city that hosts an Air Force base?
Actually, I think there's positives and negatives to every situation like that. At the time, I was starting to really like entwine with locals, like my neighbors that where I had my house, and all I kept constantly getting was, "Oh, you're an airman, you're a flyboy, a military guy." Like it's always like we were definitely separated in that sense. But if you were willing and able to go do Montana things, which I was, and I have been since I got here, I love it here. I mean, I love hunting and fishing, so it's actually a paradise, really. But if you were willing to do that and kind of like leave out your military career, uh, it seems like everybody had somebody whose girlfriend was stolen by a guy on the base. So there's that little hostility usually, but after you break that barrier and you just see your people, we put our pants on the same way, we go fishing the same way, then it's a lot more welcoming than you'd think. But I have noticed that you definitely get a better welcoming from a town that doesn't have a base, where they don't have that constant interaction. But at the same time, I've never had a Veterans Day anywhere else in my life that you could go get free food all day anywhere, and people buy you a beer at the same time. It's hit or miss, to be honest with you. It goes both ways.
So, being a civilian, going to the civilian world and trying to find your way in the sector, how hard was it? What are some of the challenges that you? How lonely were you?
Oh,
What were some of the challenges in that?
going from 24/7 brotherhood to and sisters, it was like unbearable. Like I've never felt so alone in my life. That's when I turned to drugs. I mean, that just to bond with the people that are around me. Like I almost took on this like mentality where when I was in the military, all I wanted to do was be Mister, like be a civilian, right? Like it's man, this sucks. Like I can't wait to make more money doing the same job or have more freedom, be able to go here if I want, be able to do whatever, smoke some weed. Well, little did I know how far that was going to take me, but it got bad quick. I mean, so I was just trying to blend with other people and party and then provide because yeah, I had a lot of money. I had a lot of money saved up. My ex wife was in the military. We had deployments. We had stacked time to save up money. I remember at a point we were saving $1,600 a month, and that the bank, your bank account just got bigger and bigger. Now a lot of people, you don't make that much money, but it's they're going to issue you what you need, and if you decide to have a wife, they're going to issue you a bigger paycheck. So, everybody's on that race to get that, the separation pay and all that. So, I definitely did that.
What was Okay, so you fell into trouble.
Hmm?
Um, what was? I mean, yeah, it's kind of a quick path because like I know some people is like they were really messed up for 10 years. Another dude's like 20 years,
Hmm?
and I mean it's not compare and contrast. I mean
Hmm?
there's never a compare. We all, as you said earlier, it's like we all have our stories, we all have our backgrounds. But that being said, you kind of you found your basements, and then you're bouncing up. So what were some of the you're talking about like okay, your new level. It's like okay, well that's my new basement. Well
Hmm?
then follow again. What were some of those instances that that you felt that you found yourself? It's like what is this?
So I'd recently, when I recently gotten out, and I was alone, and I was looking for, I was just wanting like my family's like help, like, and my family was trying to teach me how to grow up and be a man, handle stuff, the problems that I've caused on my own. So the first one was I found myself in a situation where to do crystal meth, and then little did I know before I knew it, I'm an addict. I mean, it's hard to not want that. I mean, it's almost like an adrenaline thing for me, like in the military, like being in Tech P or being even structures, deploying in structures, like it, or going out with the guys. Like it's just it's an adrenaline fix. Like like I wasn't gonna jump out of an airplane, as a civilian. That's why you join the military to do cool stuff, like things that are afraid of. That it's a lot easier to do when there's 10 guys behind you and you're going, like that's something I didn't get to do with that, but that was always the goal, right? To go do that. So I'm on crystal meth. I'm alone in Montana, and I know this ain't me. Like I need to get out of here, so I pack up and I go head home. When I get home, I ran into a girl I used to hang out with in high school, and uh, I think I had some pain. I brought back a garbage bag full of pain pills from the military. Gave me. I had like 300 prescriptions to pain pills, and I brought them home. I remember forget my dad's face when he looked at that bag. He was pissed. He was like his military, because he was military. He's like, my military wouldn't do that. That's not right. No wonder you're just doing crystal meth, because you just had so many pain pill prescriptions that you're used to not feeling anything. And so I shared some of those with her, and 2 days later, I did heroin for the first time. Now I'm stuck on heroin, and it was bad. I had screwed up. This is where I started to really screw everything up. I had a good job at the railroad. I had a good job at an alloy specialty metal fabrication company. I had another good job bartending, that making like $300 tips a night, and all those jobs because of drugs. I mean, I was being a Class A dirtbag. My dad's working overtime, double shifts, 12-hour shifts, and working overtime. And I'm sleeping upstairs in the room that I grew up in after I had already had two of my own houses, a wife, been around the world, and then now I'm back home in the bedroom I grew up in, and I'm hiding a drug addiction from everybody I know. And it's lonely. I mean, talk about lonely, like it gets bad.
What was okay? So you got addicted to crystal meth and excuse me, and heroin.
Mm-hmm.
Was it because of the pain pills? Was it loneliness? What would you attribute it to?
All of it. Oh, my addiction came from being lonely and being hung up on not accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish when I set out from my little town of 13,000 people, to go see the world and do everything I wanted to do. It just fell apart, and and now I'm lonely, and I just felt I had no integrity left, or not necessarily integrity. I didn't have any respect left for myself. So.
And okay, and it all stemmed from getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you could have been usable,
Mm-hmm.
or, deployable. What was the injury, and how how could they have made it better? How could it have been a positive situation?
Well, they can't. You can't. So here's the truth. You can't go and be an asset to somebody. And there's people that have been in my situation where they've been told they can't, but they could. But in those situations, those people need to have the guy next to them 100%. And you know what? The truth is I didn't need to be there, because I already apparently had too many mental health issues going on where, there's no room for insecurity or anything like that in a foxhole. So, that's the guys there. I mean, the guys that do that kind of job, they're top, the best of the best. And that's, at that point, you got to accept that you're not going to get to do that. It's not the plan. Doesn't mean, that's what this whole journey has taught me, that you have to completely find where you're supposed to be. And it's sometimes where you're supposed to be is right where you're at. And how you want to go from there is up to your character. That's what really defines you at that point, like who you are. And I've had my valleys, and then I've been at the top of the mountain a few times too now. And I don't wish anybody else has to go through what I had to go through to get here, but I am thankful, because I'm a much more appreciative, much more grateful, much more caring, and motivated individual now. And sometimes I wish I had that 19-year-old motivation and the energy, but it's not. That's like the difference between grown man strength at that point. I mean, you could be high school tough, football tough, but grown man strength is still another thing. So I feel like I finally have gotten to that point where I'm a man. Like I'm an adult. I'm a good father. I'm a good son. I'm a good neighbor. I'm a good worker, employee. So.
Everything that your dad expected out of you.
Yeah, it's funny how you get the respect that you want. I mean, it's nuts. Our relationship is so much better. And all he wanted was me to just, be a man, take care of business. So it didn't matter. You didn't have to be the best. You didn't have to be the fastest. You didn't have to be in combat. You didn't have to do any of that. You just needed to give yourself an opportunity to do what you're supposed to do. And I capitalized on that finally.
What he went through is very common, and how he got through is becoming more and more common. And I'm grateful for what all the courts, that are coming together and working as that catch and helping veterans. And so this is Kyle's story. Thank you for watching.